Today's webinar has been brought to you by the Queensland Horticulture Farm Business Resilience Program, delivered by Growcom and jointly funded through the Federal Future Drought Fund and the Queensland Government Drought and Climate Adaptation Program. My name is Karen and I manage the Farm Business Resilience Program in Horticulture for Queensland. So the Farm Business Resilience Program equips primary producers with the tools and knowledge to enhance their capacity and prepare for and manage business and climate risks, including drought. We do this through providing resources to analyse your risks and develop plans. We provide individually tailored support and advice so that you can develop your plans for the future. But as we know, life always throws us curveballs and natural disasters are part of this. So we aim to get support for you and to get you back on track as soon as possible so you can achieve your goals and your vision for the future. So your presenter today is Sheree Finney, who is the Manager for Natural Disasters and Drought in Queensland for Queensland Rural Industry Development Authority. You will have the opportunity to ask questions at the end by using the chat function. So please take a moment now to locate the chat function. You'll probably find it in the row of icons at the top of your screen. In there, you'll see that I have added a welcome to the webinar and some resources for you to use a little later. So I'll hand this over to Sheree now. Welcome, Sheree.
Thanks, Karen. Hi, everybody. Welcome. Just like to take a quick moment to acknowledge the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people and as the first Australians. We recognise their cultures, histories and diversity and their deep connection to the lands, waters and seas of Queensland and then the Torres Straits. We'd also specifically like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the vast and diverse lands that we meet today and all of you are coming to us from as well. I pay my respects to their elders past and present, and I extend that respect to any Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people online with us today. So while I quickly just introduce you all to everything that we're having a quick chat about, I'm just going to share my screen so then you can all see what I am talking to. Hopefully I get the thumbs up and we can all see that. If you can't, please interrupt me, Karen, and let me know. So basically, all I'm going to be quickly talking about is our drought preparedness and excellent, thanks, Karen, and our what we've got available for people in natural disasters in those disaster-stricken regions. So I'll quickly go through this. So a little bit about us. So the Queensland Rural Industry Development Authority, we've been around for a very long time. You're close to 3 decades in the way that we look right now. We're a statutory authority within the Queensland Government and we're the specialist provider for financial assistance and advisory to rural and regional Queensland. We administer the financial assistance for disasters under the Commonwealth and the State Disaster Recovery Funding Arrangement, the DRFA, and we also, on behalf of our state government, deliver a drought package, basically. There's lots of other things that we do, but that's what I look after. So I'm going to jump straight in and have a quick chat about the Drought Preparedness Grant. Now, you probably have all heard about this. It's been around for a little while now, but basically it's a co-contribution of up to $50,000 or 25% to assist primary producers to do some, on-farm infrastructure, some capital improvements that improve the drought preparedness of that primary production. So it could be infrastructure for water, it could be pipes, tanks, it could be equipment that improves the ability, anything that is a permanent infrastructure that might increase the permanent ability to deal with dry and drought conditions. And of course, with the implementation of that, any contractor fees that it comes to, to set up those or any freight costs that come along with it. It is a co-contribution and it does only cover 25% of the total cost up to $50,000. So if we look up when we look at that, the next one that we look at is our farm management grant. So as part of that drought preparedness grant, a big element of that is the Farm Business Resilience Program, which takes you through creating a plan, a farm business resilience plan. Now, to apply for the grant, you actually have to have a suitable plan that shows what those drought strategies are and what the plans are to mitigate. As a result of that, you might find that you need to get some professional advice, and there is a farm management grant available to get on that advice. Now, that advice doesn't necessarily only deal with the resilience in respect to drought. It can be advice that you're getting for any part of your farm business resilience plan, any part at all. So if you have to pay out some money to a consultant to assist, anything at all, a personal risk, succession planning, any risk that's been identified in your farm business resilience plan, if you need a professional advice to create that plan, we can give you up to 50% rebate of the cost of that eligible professional advice, up to $2,500 for that farm business resilience plan. So eligibility on that, and this is eligibility for a lot of our programs, be a primary producer as defined in the guidelines. Now, as defined in the guidelines, 50% of your gross income has to come from primary production, and the majority of a person involved in that has to be on farm labour. So most of their time have to be spent on the farm. They also have to have an ABN. When it comes to the farm management grant, as long as you've received the eligible professional advice after the 11th of November 2021, and that professional advice is from a suitably qualified person that isn't a staff member, a family member, or anything like that, then it's, could be deemed eligible. If I move on to the next one, these are when our, we're in Queensland. Disasters are going to happen. It's 60% of Australia's natural disasters actually occur in Queensland. So chances are primary production is going to, at some point in their business life, suffer the effects of a natural disaster. Now, at this point in time, when a disaster is declared and activated, there is an extraordinary disaster assistance recovery grant that's sometimes available. At this point in time, we actually have 3 across the state: the ex-tropical cyclone JASPER and the rainfall and flooding as a result of that low, as well as the southern Queensland bushfires that were back in September, and also the SEQ, the southeast Queensland severe storms that happened. I think they started Christmas Eve. There was a couple of them, really severe storms. They've been activated for this. So primary producers' maximum grant is $75,000, and that is actually the case in all 3 of those at this point in time. But the maximum grant that's ever allowed is $75,000. An initial amount of up to $10,000 is available. And that's super quick, just to get a bit of cash flow happening, and maybe deposits need to be done just to inject that, that kickstart into recovery. That $10,000, as long as you've got the application form, which is a 4-page document. The first page is pretty easy. It's just a checklist of what you're going to need, things like identification, 5 to 10 photographs, whether it be quotations or estimates of what's going to cost for the repair, or if you've already spent money, those tax invoices and proof of payment, your financials and income tax returns and details of your insurance, things like that. That's all on page 1. Page 2 is just details about your business, your address, your name, who runs it, who's to be contacted, your ABN, all of those details are on there on page 2. Page 3 is really the very important one. That's what tells you have the opportunity to tell us the scope of your business, what your business looks like, what it looks like under normal circumstances, what's been happening, and then a section about all the disaster, about actually what damage did occur, what happened on your particular property, and then the details of the insurance. Now, when you're filling in the insurance, if you have an insurance policy, but it's not, that your natural disaster isn't going to be covered under that policy, please tick that you don't have insurance, because the next drop down box will ask you, it says, I do have insurance, but my insurance doesn't cover me under this event. or if you do have insurance and you're still waiting the outcome of that insurance claim, it's not going to stop you from putting it in. Just make sure you pop those details in, the person that you're dealing with, the claim date, your excess details, all of those things, just pop that in there. And then page 4 of that application is just a tick and flick. It's just a, those consents, making sure that everything you've said is true and correct, that you consent to us receiving this information and storing this information, and then a signature. That's all that is. But while we're talking about this one, eligible activities. So if you've been directly impacted, that means that you have had infrastructure damage as a result of the event that's been activated. If you have to do any clearing up, so hiring equipment or, buying materials such as, it could be as simple as hoses and brooms and a gurney, things like that, to do some of the cleanup. Any additional labour costs. So if you have to get somebody in, under normal circumstances, they could be doing something else and they're paid at an hourly rate, but you have to get them in to do cleanup instead. Just write the job card that they're doing cleanup, and that can be covered as well. Repairs to any buildings that were damaged as a result of the event other than housing, fencing, repairing or, reconditioning any plant and equipment, salvaging crops, and any higher lease costs for equipment essential to the immediate resumption of your primary production business. Any tradespeople, so safety inspections such as, engineers or electrical safety, all of those things can be covered as well. And if you require any essential repairs, basically, it's trying to get you up and running for the immediate resumption of your business. If I'm just going to have a look at the next page quickly, disaster assistance loans. Now that's $75,000. If you've had direct impact, just might not be enough. So the disaster assistance loans of up to $250,000 can actually come into play after that. It also, not only will it be, for your immediate reinstatement and the repairs and things like that, but this can actually cover things that weren't necessarily able to be covered under that initial, the grant. The loan can actually cover things like replanting. It can cover things that the everyday, day-to-day business running. So if you have to pay lease payments, or you have to pay your rates, or you have to pay wages, it can actually come under the loan, whereas those sorts of things can't go under the grant. But the disaster assistance loan is 10-year fixed rate. At this point in time today, the interest rate fixed is 1.79%. So it's extremely, extremely low concessional rate. And there's an opportunity for up to 2 years of interest only payments on that. If I go through to the next page, this disaster assistance essential working capital loan. Now, these are available to those primary producers that didn't necessarily have direct infrastructure impacts as a result of that disaster. A really easy example that I like to use, particularly for primary producers, not necessarily horticulture, but it's a really easy example to understand the difference between direct and indirect. I've got one dairy farmer who had fences knocked down. They had, they had, their pastures were completely destroyed. Their driveway was completely destroyed. They, it was, 2 meters of floodwater completely destroyed their property. That's a direct impact. An indirect impact would be a different dairy farmer up the road who couldn't get the tankers onto their property, and they had to tip milk down the drain, or they didn't have power for, a couple of days. That is an indirect account. So those farmers that had the indirect still have a dip in their cash flow, and they still have to pay their creditors, they still have to pay their wages, they still have to pay their electricity and things like that. So that's what this can cover. So it can be up to $100,000. It's like a bridge between, you've used your overdraft and you don't have the money coming in. So we can create that bridge to help you, get through that time. It's also 1.79%, also 10 years, and also there is an interest-only portion of up to 2 years as required. So that is me in a nutshell. But any further inquiries, look, the 1-800, so 1-800-623-946, the team on there, we actually have a dedicated team that looks after droughts and disasters, and you can give them a call at any point and talk them through your particular situation, because every single application is looked at on a case-by-case basis and individually. But that's me from my slideshow, so I'm going to stop sharing now. And back to Karen.
Thanks for that, Sheree. I will now go to the chat function for questions. Just if you're not sure, just take a moment to have a look at your screen. There's a little talky picture with the word chat below it. That's where you click and you'll see a ribbon come up on probably the right-hand side of your screen with question, with the ability to see chat. I have also added into that some handy websites, so links to QRIDA website, the SEQ, in other words, the South East Queensland information, and then the tropical cyclone JASPER and associated rainfall and flooding information. As well as those, I've added the Queensland Reconstruction Authority activations, so you can see what has been activated. And as well as that, the ATO website, for those that have got questions regarding how this impacts their tax, go to the ATO website, because there's a lot of questions and answers and scenarios on that. I've also added the Farm Business Resilience Program for Horticulture link available through the Growcom website. So going to questions, I've just been giving you some chances to see the questions, and there's somebody there saying they can't see those links. If somebody else can let me know if they can see them, otherwise I might have to repost them, which I'll do in a moment. I'll go to questions, and then whilst Sheree's answering those, I'll try and re-add those links. So there's a question here regarding ex-tropical cyclone JASPER grants and grant guidelines replacing lost or damaged plants. Can you please provide the examples of what is covered here for a fruit and vegetable grower? I've been told that replacement of trees and plants are not covered in this, which is very contradictory to the guidelines in its current wording. So costs to replace dead livestock and costs to care for sick livestock are covered. How is this any different to fruit or vegetable crop? Thank you. So Sheree, would you like to have a go at that one?
Yeah, sure. No, I can. And Karen, as you know, that this does crop up from time to time, and we're administering these guidelines on behalf of the federal government and the state government, and we're administering the way that we've been told to administer. Now, the replacing of lost damage, I've just brought up part 8 it is, replacing lost or damaged plants if the replacement is essential for the immediate resumption of operation of the primary production enterprise. Now, according to the way that we've been directed to administer these, plants are not crops. So anything in the ground is considered a crop, and crops are not covered. So plants are things like tube stock, like a nursery stock or greenhouse stock, things like that, and they can be replaced if they were damaged or lost. But according to the way that we've been told to administer it, if it's in the ground, it's a crop and they're not covered. Now, being administering these and not owning the policy, the best way to to discuss the difference, like you said, what's the difference between livestock? That is something that you would have to take up with your MP, with those discussions. This is not the first time this has come up, but unfortunately, that's the road I have to take. We are told how to administer, and that's how we administer.
Yeah, thanks, Sheree. I can share with those online that Rachel Chambers, our CEO, so Queensland Fruit and Vegetable Growers, of which Growcom delivers projects such as the Farm Business Resilience Program. Rachel has met with government, and actually twice this week, with others, including QFF. So look, we're hoping for some alterations to that, but we've raised it. We'll see what happens out of it. Probably another one that people have been asking about is, well, as per that question, it gets a little bit confusing as to what is and what isn't included, and sometimes it is difficult. So the word salvage, Sheree, what do they mean by that?
Yeah, so it is, but the way that they look at it, salvage is, the restoration and repair. So things like, a really good example that I was given was, if you need to, that there's manual labour involved and machinery involved in potentially, propping up trees or trimming trees to make them, it's salvaging. So it's trying to restore what is in existence. So it's not about replacing, it's about fixing what is left behind, and the labour and the equipment involved in restoration of that. Now, does that make sense? I know that it doesn't, it's not incredibly clear, but it is individual. Every single business would, every single crop would look completely different. So it's not about the the replanting and the replacing of that, but it could be about the ripping out, or the trying the best you can to save what you can. That's the sort of thing that would be salvaging.
So if I had trees that were damaged and I could actually stand them back up again, so to speak.
That's a perfect example of something that might be eligible, yes.
Okay, all right, thanks for that, Sheree. The other question people have had has been with regard to insurance. So where the question is with regard to insurance, it can be a little bit confusing. So most of us have insurance. So does it mean, do you have insurance, or does it mean something different from that?
Yeah, so the question, there is yes, I have insurance, and this is the details, and there's sort of two parts to the question. I might be able to share my screen actually super quickly with you.
Okay.
I'll keep talking, but there is there is a part to it there. Just bear with me for a second. I'm going to pop down to, okay, I'm going to share my screen again. I hope that's okay.
That's good.
Can you all see that?
Yes.
Excellent, excellent. So I'm going to, hopefully you can see my cursor as well. So this part is section 5, is the section that you're talking about there. So see how it says, no, please indicate why. The second one there is my or our insurance policy does not provide cover for the items damaged or damaged. So do you have insurance? Yes, you have insurance, but your insurance doesn't cover it. So put no and tick that particular part there. It doesn't really matter if you get it wrong. Our assessment officers will contact you and let you know, like, because the next section down there, additional insurance or other details, that's where you'd put in, even if you said yes, but it doesn't cover it, you could write it in there. The assessment officers will pick that up. Just because you answer it incorrectly doesn't mean that it's not going to be looked at or not followed up, or it's going to go to the bottom of the pile and never looked at, or a big dirty black mark against your name. It's nothing like that at all. But yeah, you're right. It is, but your answer is no, I don't have insurance because my insurance doesn't cover me for this, if that's the case. Now, we will ask for a policy to show that, and our assessment officers will go through that really quite easily. They understand how to read those. So that was that. I know that it can be a bit confusing, but it doesn't, as long as you put details in that additional insurance space, it doesn't really matter. The information's there.
Yeah, okay. So if I put my application in, I can just ring that QRIDA number, and just go to the QRIDA website if I have any questions.
Absolutely. And there's a team that's dedicated to it on the phones as well. So you just ring the number, and when you ring the 1-800 number, it's not one of those, please dial one for, it's not one of those ones. A person actually answers the phone, and you just tell that person, I want to talk about my drought drought preparedness grant, or I want to talk about my exceptional disaster assistance recovery grant, or you just say, I want to talk to somebody about, I've been through a disaster. It will go through to the team and they will look after you as best as they can.
Yeah, okay. Thanks, Sheree. We've got another question there that's, is there the ability to get funding to transition existing irrigation infrastructure to systems that have a significantly higher level of water utilisation efficiency and can build significant resilience against drought and disasters?
Yeah. So look, technically the drought preparedness grant isn't about replacing existing infrastructure. However, there's a story to tell there that it's not replacing existing infrastructure. It's actually, it's a completely different irrigation system. So that's what I would be putting in my application. So just don't mention that because it's not replacing, this is actually rebuilding
it's
and
new,
a completely new,
it?
brand new thing.
Yeah. So
put that in there that it's completely brand new. And yeah, as long as it's measurable, which you can significantly say about, you know, a measurable, like it will save this amount of megalitres, or it will, you know, whatever those measurables are. Yeah, it's slightly flexible.
Yeah, thanks, Sheree.
It's all about the wording.
It is, and that's what we're here for as well. So
that's right.
If people do have questions, you know, about the Farm Business Resilience Program and or drought assistance or the disaster assistance, you know, ring QRIDA, ring your farm business resilience facilitators. We're helping people all the time. We do have another question, and that's about, could you explain the criteria for eligible separate businesses to apply for disaster grants?
Yeah, sure. It can seem a little bit complex, but it's not really. If there's been two different businesses affected by one disaster, the businesses have to have different ABNs and they have to have different premises. That's kind of it. So if you're, that's kind of it. So if you've got, you know, like it's sometimes difficult in different industries, but hort's often easier because one property will be growing one crop and a different property will often be doing a different crop. So it's quite easy, but as long as it's different books, different ABN, different addresses, it can be done as an eligible separate business.
Okay.
Yeah.
So one ABN, 2 farms equals 1 application?
Can do, yes.
2 ABNs, 2 farms could be 2 applications if they're both impacted.
Yep. Now, 1 ABN, 2 separate farms. There are circumstances where that may be eligible, but that is very individualised and it has to be looked at in that specific. You know, like it all depends. It's just looked at every single time. It is looked at in an individual way, but the guideline, the basics are different ABN, different set of books, different set of staff, different set of equipment, different addresses. Of course, they're going to be different businesses.
Okay, thanks.
Yep.
We have another question there. What is the criteria for additional labour costs in relation to cleanup from JASPER?
Yeah, sure. That's actually a really good question. So if you've had staff members or you've had to hire other people to come in and do the cleanup, or your own staff members, if they're salary staff members, so like regardless of whether they work 1 hour or 100 hours a week, they get paid the same, they won't be covered. And as the owner, your own salaries can't be, because that can't be quantified. But if you have your normal staff that are on an hourly rate and they can't perform their normal duties, so they're doing cleanup work, just pop the job card in and their wages will be absolutely eligible. Does that, I hope that helped, Belinda.
Okay. So if I was to claim those, would QRIDA like to see what I usually pay a person and then what their hours are over and above that they're working on this specific?
Not necessarily. Basically, a job card would be part of that. The dates that they were working is really important, because you could say, like, like with JASPER, I can't quite remember the dates off the top of my head. I've got so many events happening. I think it might have been the 18th or it could be the 13th. But if you show that, during this time and this time, they were specifically working on, you just, even something as simple as a stat deck would cover it. You say, like, Karen George, from this date to this date, 8 hours a day was doing this, and it was part of the cleanup, and that's it. Then, that's what we would accept. Of course, putting in what they normally do and what they're doing above and beyond that would help as well. Anything that tells the story would be assisting it.
Yeah, so the more information, the better.
Yeah, yeah.
And Sheree, if you're not sure, what would your advice be? Like, if you're not sure whether to put in an application or not, what do you think?
Yeah, there's two things. Ring us and talk to us, or just do it. What's the worst that can happen? It is only a 4-page document. There's a little bit of mucking around, but most people would have access to the things that are required. It's not over and above, you haven't got to go and get hydrologist reports, or you haven't got to go and, externally get things to put in that will cost a lot of money. Go for gold. I think you should, attempt. The worst that we can do is say you weren't eligible, and then you're no worse off. But you might come out with something. But aside from that, just give us a call.
Yeah. So don't self-assess.
No, just pop it in and give us a call.
Yeah. Just thinking about some of the questions that came up at the event held earlier this week in Mareeba, just with regard to application timeframes, there was quite a bit of concern regarding insurance companies, as people are unsure whether their insurance is going to cover them or not, and then they're concerned about how long it will take to get contractors on farm. It might, in some cases, it might be several months before we can even get on farm. What's your thoughts with that? If you're not sure with your insurance.
Yeah. So there's two parts to that question. I'll address one, the second part. So every time that this is activated, the minimum is 6 months. So because it's for the immediate resumption of business, so the money's not going to run out. If you're eligible and you put it in before the closure date, and with JASPER we're talking about the 28th of June, if you're eligible and you put it in before that date, the money will be there. It's not first in, first served. It's not, it's not competitive. So the money will be there. So that's that. So don't panic about, if your insurance is taking 2 months, it's still, the money's still going to be there. It's not going to go away. But with insurances, if you are insured and it turns out that your insurance policy will cover you, you can't, obviously we can't cover that. And we could, it is best to wait for the insurance policy, but you can still put it in. We can put it on defer. We can sometimes, the worst case scenario, honestly, in that situation would be that you pop it in and, insurance is dragging their feet and it's taking a very long time to get back to you. And we have to turn around and say, look, unfortunately, you've been declined. But a decline in that case doesn't mean you can't come back. It just means we've waited too long. Insurance is taking too long. Rather than put it on the back burner, we've said no, but just come back to us with exactly the same application once the outcome's done, and then we'll do it. We'll do it all again. It's a little bit difficult. Look, I'm going to look perfectly honestly. These activations are happening quicker and quicker and sooner, like more frequently. So they're pumping them out quicker. Whereas it used to be a bit between 6 to 12 weeks after the event that these got activated, and insurance had already been the outcomes of insurance had been done by the time we'd even opened. So it's a little bit on the back burner now because of that. But put it in. Worst case, we say go away and come back. Otherwise, we can, we work on it. The insurance, it is taking a little bit longer, but we have noticed that it has started to speed up in the last week or so.
Okay, thanks for that. We've just got 2 more questions. So is there funding available for upgrading resilience building to other extreme events, extreme weather events than drought?
At this stage in time, there's not. But I mean, that would be wonderful, wouldn't it? But at this point in time, there's nothing. No, it's just drought. But drought is a bit of a pilot program, and you know, the uptake has been fantastic on that. And you know, it does go to show that this resilience sort of preparedness stuff is brilliant, and it really works well. So let's just cross our fingers and hope that there will be something.
Yeah. Okay, thanks, Sheree. Oh, we've got one more. Okay, so we are copping continual rain in Mareeba that is preventing erosion works being completed. As a result, the damage is getting worse and exceeding $75,000 to repair on some properties. Is there any scope for IDSPs for these severely impacted properties, and if so, what assistance would be available under an IDSP?
Yeah, so if you're in an activated region, an IDSP is superfluous. You actually don't need one because you're already activated. The $75,000, that is the maximum that's available. So if you exceed that, the disaster assistance loan is what will be that 1.79% loan. That is what would be assisting you. And in the case of properties that get an IDSP, what they have access to is a disaster assistance loan under the IDSP, which is exactly the same, 1.79%. So there's no difference between being activated or having an IDSP, and that is the loan that's available.
Rightio. So if it's going to be greater than the 75,000, the maximum for the grant is 75,000. It's the 10,000 plus 65,000 that you can get back off eligible costs for doing repair work. There is the loans available. Sheree, the loans, if I have cash in the bank, if I have farm management deposits, can I use those loans?
Yes. So the farm management deposits they're designed to be used for, it's a terrible term, but for a rainy day. So that's what an FMD is for. So yes, we do require people tap into their FMDs because that's what they're designed for, and they're overdraft. But you don't have to get extra money. If your bank says, we know that it's difficult for you, here's an extra amount of money on your overdraft, there's no need to accept that. There's just what you've got. But yes, you do need to tap into those immediate liquid assets, which is the FMD and your overdraft fund, but over and above that, because that's going to get eaten up very, very quickly.
Okay, so we can access this loan before we actually then go into further debt with the bank.
Correct. Absolutely.
Okay.
That's the plan.
Yeah, with that extraordinarily low interest rate, which is brilliant. Yes, thank you.
That's right.
Okay, well,
I know that the interest rate, I was shocked when the federal government gave us this rate this year. I'm like, wow, wow, let's go with that.
Yeah.
I actually got them to check it.
Oh, well, I was pleasantly surprised that that was a bit of silver lining there.
Yeah.
Again, any questions, please feel free to contact us. I'll share the Farm Business Resilience Facilitators contacts again on a slide. Definitely jump onto the QRIDA website, phone, use that. You take advantage of the fact that we've currently got staff there directly to help you for the disaster response, and hopefully that pending cyclone will go away.
La la la.
Off the coast at the moment. All right. Well, thanks very much for your time, Sheree. I know you're a very busy lady. And,
you're very welcome. Very welcome. We had this planned before all of that happened. So
yes, we crystal balled it, funnily enough. And just on your comment regarding the 60% of disasters in Australia come from Queensland, I'll just highlight that the greatest climate variability also is in the Burdekin for all the world. So that sort of stands to reason, doesn't it?
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for your time, everybody. that's us, and we will talk to you later.
Thanks so much, everybody. Bye for now.